So begins the Marvel Civil War event version of Cable and Deadpool, issue 30. Deadpool is fighting the Great Lakes Avengers because he thinks they haven't registered. Turns out they have. He is asked by the government to do this professionally. He agrees because he always wants to be a merc. He tells this to Cable, not knowing what Cable's side in the issue is. Cable has a heart-to-heart once again with Captain America. Deadpool spies on him and steals the identification of all the new aliases of superheroes. He uses this to track down Daredevil, and they have an all-out brawl in a warehouse. But it turns out it could be a trap. Issue 31. It was indeed a trap, and they begin fighting more and more as Deadpool takes on multiple superheroes. Cable shows up to explain his position, and they tie Deadpool up so that they can do a bunch of other issues of different comics that were happening at around this time. He shows up later, and they go to meet the president to explain about the future and how this becomes a horrible police state full of superheroes, and the president begins to send in his men so that they can fight Cable. He stops them non-violently, and the president tasks Deadpool with shooting and killing Cable. Issue 32. Deadpool shoots at Cable, and they begin to fight. They still can't seem to convince the president that what they're doing is right. And Cable and Deadpool body slide out of this place and show up instead at the One World Church, where the real fight begins. The two of them battle, and eventually Deadpool is tied up once again. Cable publicly humiliates him by getting him to admit things that he didn't know were on camera. He's given the opportunity to shoot Cable, and he decides not to shoot. But the two of them will probably not be the same again after this, the Marvel Civil War event. Issue 33. There is an explosion in the island of Providence, and it may be sabotage. Meanwhile, Six-Pack is heading to Remekistan, the country that Cable is the current president of, and they also intend on sabotaging that place. Cable realizes that there's probably going to be a double hit, and instead of taking a plane, he body slides with Deadpool, and the two of them team up to stop Six-Pack. Why Six-Pack is doing this is kind of a bit insane. He faces off with them, realizing, wait, there's only 5 of them. Where's the 6th? Surprise, it's Deadpool. Looks like their war wasn't so civil. Issue 34. Cable reminisces on happier times, and Domino has doubts as to whether or not knocking out the power of an entire country just because a guy really seemed hopeful is a good idea. Guess what? It's not. Meanwhile, the people of the country are carrying Cable around in a savior-like fashion, and he reroutes the entire power through his gravitational force, bringing everyone back together in peace and harmony, knocking out Six-Pack, and publicly humiliating Deadpool by revealing on national television that he was the one that blew up Providence. It ends with Deadpool once again staring at television, sitting on his couch, only this time it's a bit sad. One happy ending, Cable and Domino reunite. Issue 35. Cable has given Deadpool something that makes him feel guilty for all of his past crimes, and he begins seeing visions everywhere he goes. Meanwhile, Cable is sparring with Domino, and Mrs. Merriweather seems a tad jealous. Deadpool is off the rails, going insane, hallucinating from all of his guilt and all of his past crimes, that he lashes out and Cable finally has to intervene. He tells him that he might have been slightly involved in influencing these thoughts, but for the most part, these thoughts are his own. The two of them argue, and it looks like they might not be friends anymore. It ends with Deadpool sitting in his apartment staring at television, but this time, there's a certain somber tone to it. Alright. Issue number 36. Deadpool asks Blind Al and Weasel what they think of him. He hasn't been able to get a merc job, so he saves and rescues Taskmaster for the purpose of fighting Taskmaster to prove that he is a really good, awesome mercenary. Taskmaster agrees. Weasel kidnaps a group of spectators, and the two of them have an all-out brawl. Deadpool thinking that Taskmaster is going easy on him, but Deadpool's actually pretty damn good. He asks the group of people what they think of him, and they say, "We already know you're a good fighter. We hate you because you're unprofessional and just all-around horrible." Meanwhile, Rhino breaks out, and Deadpool realizes, maybe I can prove myself by being a hero. Issue 37. Deadpool wakes up to find himself shrunken tiny, and it turns out that this has all been done by Rhino as payback for when he made Rhino into a keychain. He brings him to a bar full of supervillains, and they take turns dunking him in the toilet and shooting at him. One of the bullets sets him free, and it's an all-out brawl as tiny Deadpool takes on all these villains in a bar. He tells Rhino that he was humiliated, and Rhino tells him, "That's all I really wanted." But he still beats up Rhino and captures him anyways, for the publicity. The only problem is, he's still teeny tiny. Issue 38. It's in the genes. We open with Alex Hayden, aka Agent X, infiltrating Hydra. Only he gets captured. And Deadpool enjoys the view as Sandy and Outlaw tell him they need his help to save him. He heads over to the Hydra facilities, steals the card and person of Bob from Hydra, and uses him to infiltrate the base, where they find that Alex Hayden has been weakened with a condition that causes him to constantly need to eat. And it turns out it may be irreversible. Deadpool gets some Pime particles, turns big again, kicks ass, takes Alex home with a forklift. Only to find out that Sandy and Outlaw have been kidnapped by T-Ray. Seriously, more T-Ray. Issue 39. Seriously, more T-Ray. Deadpool tries to track him down, and they find that he's in a farmhouse where he's kept Sandy and Outlaw hostage. He brings Bob from Hydra along. T-Ray and him battle, but argue more than anything. T-Ray wishes more people hated him and doesn't understand why they don't. Deadpool exclaims that he knows who he is. They fight, and he stabs him in the head with his katana, not killing him, but incapacitating him in some manner. Alex Hayden is still fired, and that's how we end this week's episode. So, I have kind of mixed feelings about the 10 issues that we covered in today's episode. I mean, it was kind of cool to see how Cable and Deadpool were involved in the Marvel Civil War thing. Actually, Cable is very heavily involved, a very important role in that. But it did mean the parting of their ties, and there were a couple issues that seemed a little meaningless. I did kind of like that one where he had gone a little bit insane, and that did have one of my favorite fourth wall breaks. But and then we got into more silly Deadpool-y stuff. But I don't know, I think it slightly bums me out that it's Cable and Deadpool, and they play so well together because one's sort of very serious and one's very silly. And the fact that they're sort of parting ways at this point, I don't know, it's something that when you have that kind of emotional investment, it makes you feel a bit bummed out. But we'll actually see a bit more as the series becomes even more Deadpool heavy in the last 11 issues. But that's for next time. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay cuddly.